let's talk about your music career that's
Okay.
popping
Well,
off. You know, you're a rising star in the music industry. Love your music.
thanks.
Glad you're from Calgary. You're repping us.
Let's
Um,
go.
so how did you get into music originally?
Oh shoot. I got into music super naturally, man. I always loved it. I sang around the house. My dad had a marginally successful music career. But singing is in my blood. But honestly, it was nurtured when my mom was sending me to voice lessons just because I liked it. And then I got into bands, and did Canadian Idol when I was 16, and that was encouraging. And then, you know, next thing you know, I'm writing songs. And when I finished university, I got a degree in business and finance, and I just knew that my calling was elsewhere.
Yeah. So was that tough for you because you worked as an investment banker, correct?
Yeah, I worked in private wealth.
Okay. So
Yeah,
how was that? Like working in that industry, did you just like always felt some sort of calling towards music? Like was it tough for you to sit there and work through that while your mind was elsewhere?
definitely. I mean, I definitely had a passion for finance as well. I I mean, I was taught to go to school to add to your tool belt, so that you can apply those lessons and all of those skills to whatever you want to do with your life. That's the way I've always looked at it. So I never knew if I was going to be an iBanker. There was a point where I was like, I want to go and make some money. I want to make some damn money with my life, for sure. But when I was working in finance, I worked for amazing people. I learned how how impactful you can how much of an impact you can make when obviously you're making money. The guys that I worked for ran a foundation called the Big Give Project. So they supported underprivileged student athletes in Calgary from marginalized communities. And that was sick. Like we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to put kids into sports.
Wow.
And it was amazing. So I wasn't stuck at like a super boring desk finance job, twiddling my thumbs thinking about music. But while I was in it, I had bands on the side. I was writing music on the side. I started my 50-day idea. Um,
Yeah. Let's talk about that because that's really
yeah,
interesting. I read about that your 50 days of summer campaign.
yeah,
Where did the idea come from?
dude. You know what? A friend of mine was just like, I was challenged when I finished business school because I was like, how do I pursue music? And business at the same time. And he was like, I don't know, do 100 days of shows. I was like, what? I don't even play an instrument, bro. How am I going to do that? But I turned it into 50 and did social media pop-ups. I did pop-up shows, did lots of collabs and videos and stuff like that. And I got community support for it. I got like free beer for the summer, and a radio station sponsored it. So that made me want to turn it into a festival the next year. And that was the biggest headache of my life for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
But
The old 50-day
I bet
music
you're glad you
festival.
did it though.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was experience of a lifetime, that's for sure. Like a ton of learning lessons that you can't trade for anything, right?
Yeah, that's wild. So with your 50 Days of Summer campaign, were all your shows in Calgary or you traveled to different places?
No, for at the time it was just in Calgary.
Oh,
And yeah, it was like a different trying to put on the community. So like it was a different Calgary artist in a different Calgary venue every day for 50.
wow.
So
That's
it was
very
a lot.
impressive, man. That is a lot. 50 days straight. That's intense. That's intense.
Yeah, it's too much, bro. Too much.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about your move to Toronto. So you decided to move to Toronto. What was the deciding factor behind that? Because I know a lot of people, even outside of the music industry, from Calgary, they end up in Toronto. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's the same all over Canada, but I've seen a pattern in Calgary specifically. So why is that? Do you feel like it's just not possible to be a successful artist in Calgary?
I don't know if I would say that because, the internet's wild right now. Anything can happen. But it's the difference to me between Toronto and Calgary is history. Like Toronto has generations of artists, especially in soul, R&B, hip hop, pop, in my genres and culture that have done it and had success for years. And you can you grow up in the culture, you grow up in the scene, you learn from those artists. You talk about what those artists do. That's a part of the come up. And I think that when you can see it, it seems a lot more realistic, and you there's a pathway laid for you. And I think one of the struggles for me coming from here, making the music that I do, is like there aren't very many artists who have come before me in my genre. So it was really hard to collaborate, to write with people, to grow. I think that was the biggest thing. And I started traveling to write music in 2017. And then in 2018, I was gone for like 5 months. I was on road. Like I would leave Calgary every Sunday and fly to Toronto, Montreal, LA, London, Nashville, Vancouver, one of those cities for the week. I would write 3 times a day, all co-writing, just trying to get my chops up, meeting producers, trying to build relationships outside of the city. And then I'd come home on Friday, bartend Friday, Saturday, make my money for the week, and then go out and do it again.
Oh.
And that was from doing that, it opened my eyes to how much is out there, how much industry is out there, how many incredible producers and writers are out there doing amazing things. And by being in that atmosphere, it allows you to grow so much. And I don't know if it was just maybe where I grew up in the city, because there are artists from here doing their thing right now. But I just wasn't in that scene here, so I needed to get it elsewhere.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Just being immersed in that culture, having big artists, like Drake, Tory Lanez, Sincerely Toby, whoever it is, they paved the way, and I feel like there's just a lot more resources, and those kind of people are just like a lot more accessible out there. Do you miss Calgary a lot when you're out in Toronto, or is Toronto like your new home now?
Oh man, I mean Calgary's always home. Like the feeling of home is here. My family's here. My memories are all here. So I think this will always be home to me. But Toronto's growing on me for sure. For sure. Toronto is a vibe. It's just
I feel you, man. I feel you. Toronto, it's a different beast.
Different beast. I'm really happy and lucky to be there right now. And who knows where this thing will take me next, because probably be a nomad for a while.
That's what's up, man. Nothing wrong with that. So who are some of your musical inspirations growing up?
Oh shoot! Well, it was definitely soul to start. It was Marvin Gaye, Luther Vandross, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, Kool and the Gang, Raphael Sadiq. Like I loved soul music first and foremost, and then got into hip hop and pop music. And probably my biggest influences are Raphael Sadiq, Justin Timberlake, James Brown, Marvin Gaye, Amy Winehouse. Anderson .Paak was a huge, like, for the last 5 years, him and Mac Miller have been like huge influences. Every time I get asked this, it's like I know half of them just leave my brain. And then as soon as it's done, I'm like, no, I forgot John Legend. Like John Legend's a huge one for me.
Yeah, I feel you. We'll save it for the next podcast, and you'll come up.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Do you have any rituals before you perform? Anything quirky you do? Any superstitions? Some people like to have a quarter pounder before basketball games, but what you like to do?
that was like the Shaq program. Actually, my roommate used to like, it'd be McDonald's every game day. No, I honestly, I actually just call my mom. Yeah, I talk to my mom before every show and just like try to share those experiences with her. I think that's like the toughest part about not being home is I miss super tight with my mom. So I like for her to be in it with me, you know?
Yeah,
So
does that just like calm your nerves and settle you down a little bit, get you comfortable?
yeah, it's just there's something nice about um I want to share those moments with her because she's done so much for me, and I would not be able to do this if I wasn't so lucky to have her, right? So I want her to be a part of the moments and all that. So yeah, that, and I do these ridiculous vocal warm ups. So if anybody hears them, they're like, "Yo, are you good, man? Are you scream crying in the corner right now?"
That's a joke. So do you just wait till nobody's around and then you do your vocal warm ups, or?
Yeah, you got to find the stairwell. You got to find the empty stairwell. That's always the play.
Nice. Well, whatever works, man. Clearly, it's working. So
Exactly.
keep it up. Just make sure there's no cameras around when you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Dope, dope. So what do you got? What do you got cooking for 2020? You got anything in the works?
Yes, man, I do. I've been grinding since November. I've had my head down writing. I'm like a good 85 songs deep now.
Yeah.
Like tons of work. And I just really found my sound, man. Like I put out Dream State, my EP, in October, and that was the product of years of writing. That was my first project. It was just like, here's a bit of what, like, my influences. Here's a bit of everything that I do. Super proud of that. But now I know, like, I know what I do.
Yeah.
I know how I do it and why I do it. And so the process has just gotten a lot deeper for me. And I think the music's just on a whole nother level. So I'm getting ready to start dropping it soon, man. I'm,
That's dope, man.
I'm super excited, but going through the motions, like being an independent artist isn't easy, right? So
Gotcha. Yeah,
yeah.
that's definitely a difficult route and an admirable route. It seems like more and more artists are actually going that direction. Independent artists. What was the deciding factor for you? Why did you want to go that route?
Well, I mean, starting out, everybody has to hit that road, and when the right opportunities come up for a partner, then you weigh them out and consider if they're the right ones. And for me, I've always wanted to build enough steam that my business has leverage to enter the partnership in a way that I'm not going to get duped.
Yeah,
Um, I want to put myself in a position to be successful in the long run. I love the idea of being able to have creative control, and ultimately, like, if I give that up, I want to be giving it up to a team that really rides for it and really gets the vision and can help get it there. And I know that a lot of artists kind of miss out on that, and you take risks when you enter a deal. Um, but yeah, so it's all about when the right one comes. But for now, I'm grateful that I have such a great team. My manager, my mixing engineer, like PR, our whole team is really strong, and I'm fired up for what we can do this year.
that's great, man. Hey, I'm fired up too. I can't wait. Can't wait to
Yeah,
get to 80 tracks.
that's it. Well, yo, and like Tory Lanez went off about it the other day. Like he owns his masters. Like owning your work, your assets is super important.
Yeah,
And I mean, I think people have to like really sit down. Like honestly, I've made spreadsheets on spreadsheets about my business and trying to understand it as well as I can. So if somebody's going to give me a deal, I know exactly, or offer me a deal, I know exactly what it looks like, why it makes sense, why it doesn't. You know what I mean? I think
yeah,
everybody's got to do that work if you're going to be putting yourself in that position.
for sure. No, I agree
So,
with you 1,000%. So important to educate yourself. I'm not in the music industry, but I hear lots of stories about artists getting duped and getting swindled by these big record labels. And, I hate to see that because, these artists, they put their heart and soul into their craft and they should be fairly rewarded for what they do. So I always find it like very admirable when I see independent artists grinding, doing their own thing. Just wondering, do you have any words of advice for any aspiring artists that maybe are going through tough times or have some self-doubt or don't think they can make it or don't know the right next step to take?
That's a great question. And always, I don't know which one piece I would give, but I'll tell you this, it's never going to go away. All of those feelings that you're having right now, those lows, I'm not sure if I can do this or if I can make it or if I'm good enough or is this sound good enough? Is this branding good enough? Is all of it? I don't think it's ever going to go away. It's the biggest artists in the world are constantly reinventing themselves and asking themselves the same questions. So you got to be okay with that. And if you're not, then this might not be for you. And I don't mean that. My mom was calling me.
No worries.
It's the second time today I've had a Zoom call and my mom calls me. That's my other advice. Call your mom. No, exactly. No, you gotta build the support systems to get you through those times though. Like real talk, it's not as easy as like get over it or it's not for you. It's like you need foundations and support systems around you to get through those lows. But you got to ask yourself why you're doing it. And if your why is strong enough and you feel like this is your purpose and you got something to say and you're making the most genuine music that you can, then you know what that feels like and you know how hard to defeat that is. And the longer you do this, I think the more that becomes your reality and you know that the lows are just the lows.
Yeah.
I'll get through those, but those aren't my reality. My reality is like, I'm made for this shit. Yeah. You know? And then, yeah, I mean, I also reach out to people and ask questions. Like it feels like a very lonely journey sometimes because it's you, your thoughts, your songs, your ideas. And it feels isolating, especially when you're early in the game and you don't have a team yet. But reach out to people and ask questions. Like I have been so lucky to have mentors and like big brothers and sisters in this game that have taught me how to keep going and how to think and how to stay with it. And people want to teach, you know what I mean? And just as much as you want to learn. So don't be afraid of that. 'Cause yeah, it opens doors too. It's like the old ask a man, what it is, ask a man for a fish or ask a man how to fish and you fish for life, right?
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Something like that. Close enough.
Close enough. Cool. So, yeah, great words. Great advice. Really appreciate that. I'm sure that'll be impactful for a lot of artists out there. Even people that aren't artists, you know, whatever business you're in or whatever goal you're trying to achieve. That's great advice. So as we both know, there's a lot going on in the world right now. There's a lot of negativity, a lot of anxiety between, you know, coronavirus, Black Lives Matter, just the everyday struggle, everyday grind, people not having enough money coming in. So I always like to end things on a positive note. Just wondering if you have any positive words you'd like to share with the city, with the nation, anybody in the world listening right now, just any words of encouragement during these times. I know you've shared a lot already with at the Black Lives Matter protests, but I'm sure you can spare a few more words.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think this would also be like the other piece of advice I could give to artists too, which is like, you have to be kind to yourself. Like love yourself. Like we're pretty incredible creatures. We've got all of these multiple facets to us and things that make us us. And that's what's so special. That's why something like the color of our skin should never restrict us from being able to let that shine. It's hard enough to shine sometimes for anybody. We're all going through it. And, you know, it starts with yourself. And I think when it's as challenging as it is right now, half of us are locked up in our houses in quarantine and half of us are feeling the suppression of everything that's going on right now. Just remind yourself how dope you are and how special you are and work at that and write it down and keep it moving. I mean, that's kind of what's gotten me, I think, through all of my lows. is, like I said, the support system that I have and the constant you got to be like your own biggest fan. And is that going to fix the world's problems? I don't know. But at the end of the day, we got to walk out our doors and do our thing and find a way to get through the day. And like, yeah, love yourself.
For sure. That's what's up, man. That's great advice. And, you know, I couldn't agree more. It's such a blessing to even just be alive. You know, my team, we recently wrote a blog article titled 3 Reasons Why You Matter. And upon doing some research, the chances of someone actually, like a human being born, are 1 in 400 trillion.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, people don't even realize how much of a miracle it is to even just be alive. You know, so anytime I'm stressed or, you know, I have a lot of anxiety, I always just try to take a step back and, you know, just take everything in. Like this is such a blessing, everything, the good and the bad. Just take it for what it is and, you know, try to make the most of it. But
100, man.
Yeah.
And to like somehow maintain the focus of where you want to be. I think that's got to be the driver that gets us through. You know, why are we in this game? What are we in it for?
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy because it truly helps you identify what your next step is. Because that's always where the anxiety really kicks in. It's like, or that's what the anxiety can get in the way of knowing how to move forward. And like, for example, with myself going through all of this Black Lives Matters and the madness of the last few weeks, I kind of had a chance to reflect on how I want to truly help in the long run. Like, yes, I can share my words and use my voice, but what about my making an impact in the real world outside of my voice? And I thought about myself as a son of a single immigrant mother with no generational wealth to help us to get through, with tons of sacrifice and struggle to get to this point. I want to help people like me, people like my brother. And so I'm working on exactly that right now. I want to find a way to support the youth going through that same struggle that a lot of us went through, so that we all have a chance to swing the way we want to swing. You want to do music, you want to create a music festival, you want to create a media marketing company, here's some help. And that's and like I said, that just comes from asking myself what's important to me. And yeah, so that's what's up.
That's great, man. It's been a pleasure. Again, thanks so much for the time. I'm gonna have to catch up with you again, probably after you drop your next album.
Yes, that'd be so dope.
For sure. All right, bro. Take care of yourself.
Okay, man. You too. Thank you for the time.